Dearest beloved divine friends, family, brothers and sisters, in the raw, Archives Guyana Free Media, and I'm your friend and your host, Hajji Dr. Roshan. I'm very moved to hear by an article in which the president is speaking and being interviewed by the China Global Television Network. By His Excellency President Dr. Irfan Ali, and he's saying Guyana not threatened by Chinese investments and loans. President Ali. Now, this period, this season, yesterday was Sunday the 15th of January, I was invited by the Chinese Association with an invitation from the People's Republic of China to the National Park for a beautiful event celebrating the Spring Festival, which is one of the biggest festivals and holiday time of the People's Republic of China. It's a time when the entire nation is closed down, shut down for 2 weeks at least. And all the workers, and this is something our people are not accustomed to, they would travel from way far off states that you can't even seem to imagine, traveling for days by bus and magnificent trains and so on, to get to their homes and to get back, and they can only do that once per year. Tell that to Guyanese and it can't happen. So let us use the opportunity to compliment Her Excellency, the Ambassador of the People's Republic of China in Guyana, on this, its New Year and its Spring Festival and time of happiness and joy for the People's Republic of China and Chinese people world over. So it was a beautiful event. I enjoyed it very much. I attended with my youth adopted, and we truly had a great time in entertainment and sales of certain foods and so forth and so forth. Now, that is another thing, and I'll be reading an article on that I have put together by writing the extolling and exalting the people of China and China. That's another one, another presentation that will come soon in this, like this. Now, Guyana not threatened by China's investment and loans. President Dr. Irfan Ali, the brilliant, the wise, the charismatic, the people's president. And so I will start reading and making some commentary, but before I do that, I'd like to give you a take. Fact remains that China does not invade nations. China does not involve itself in political machinations to create internal political trauma and turmoil of nations, nor does it insist and set things in place to destabilize countries and nations so a particular person would become president or leader and like that of a puppet regime. Friends and families, brothers and sisters, from my studies and my understanding, the People's Republic of China is interested, along with their investors and in various countries, in business. One man had said, and that was in Brazil, when he was being questioned and kind of being targeted by a reporter, one Chinese man said, "What is your problem? We are not trying to take your country. We are not trying to destabilize your nation. We are not trying to choose a government of our choice. We are just interested in one thing. And that encompasses 2 or 3 other things. We are interested in business. When we make business with you, we make money, you make money. the country make money. And this is what basically the Chinese are basically interested in. And for example, in Guyana, we had a Chinese president, President Arthur, who did a magnificent job, my beloved divine friends and families, even though it was more of a ceremonial position and appointment. But he did represent the Chinese people and the country in being a judge in a most professional, independent manner. In Guyana, there are Chinese in all kinds of businesses, and they've been in Guyana for about 170 years, and they have not stopped migrating to Guyana. But they are always mostly positive in our society. You will always have a few negatives, and that's a fact of life. So let me read this article by His Excellency President Dr. Fanali. Guyana has often been warned by the experiences of other nations when it comes to borrowing loans from China and the foreign country funding local projects through procurement models that allow for transfer to government at some point. That allows for transfer to government at some time. He's talking there about the BOT system, or the boot system, build, operate, transfer. Now, some countries, it is said, like in Africa and so on, some African countries, and in the Caribbean, they borrowed money and they couldn't pay, and Sri Lanka is another one. Certain things were taken due to the debt they took. Now, if you take a debt and you don't set the prerequisites for your protection right, then you're going to lose. You can't blame China. You have to blame your leaders, your peoples, for not setting out the parameters clear. I made this mention in another article sometime in the past. The Chinese are business people and they set certain parameters, and if you don't want it, you could seek a change and then move on and move forward or nullify it or adjust the agreement to your suitability. Those countries which ended up in problem, it is not the fault of China, to my opinion, but the fault of the countries who took the loans. Here President Ali is saying, when it comes to borrowing loans from China and its foreign country funding local projects through procurement models that allow for transfer to government at some point, usually 20-25 years. President Fanali, however, is not threatened by these warnings, and instead believes that China has an integral role to play in the development of Guyana, and I agree. We need a proper railway system that will run from the Quarantine to New Amsterdam, even across the Berbice River and into Georgetown, and from here to other parts of the country, and from there in between to link up to go to other areas within the country by rail. We need this. And as I see, and I've learned, and I have been in Europe, and I have observed and asked questions, most of the equipment, most of the trains, most of it comes from China. We can't get away from the fact, ladies and gentlemen, India is also another great country that creates its own railway system. And the other countries are now falling back who were the leaders, like in the United States of America and UK and EU. They are now buying from China and in some cases India because it is more profitable for them. And if divinely, through the universal energies and power, it is the time of China and even of India, then so be it. It cannot be halted by conspiracies and complaints, ladies and gentlemen. Back to the article. President Ali, however, is not threatened by those warnings and instead believes that China has an integral role to play. He made his position clear during a virtual interview with the Chinese journalist Wang Guan on the China Global Television Network, released on Saturday. Over the years, many reporters in Western news media describe China's economic activities and economic investment, for example, in Latin America and the Caribbean, your country included, as predatory and neo-colonialism. What he's saying there, Western news have been saying this and accusing China of a kind of a neo-colonialism investment and control and intention, including your country and many other countries in Latin America and the Caribbean, your country included. And it's like predatory. You're like a predator. China is trying to hunt and devour and destroy. I completely disagree with that. And I'm waiting for the answer of our Excellency President Dr. Irfan Ali. Said the journalist as he introduced his question to the Guyanese head of state, asking if he agrees with that methodology. Ali made clear that he does not support that view, and instead sees China as a necessary partner to aid in the advancement of the country. Exactly my words. Exactly my words. And they're not only partner in business, for them make money and I make money, so much of grants, so much of free things. Their medical brigade, the Chinese medical brigade, which I saw again at the Spring Festival ceremony Sunday, yesterday the 15th, so beautiful, loving, and teaching us also the basic new art that we have never heard of self-defense. So many things there before him. And so President Ali rightly said, China is an important part in the advancement of our country. If that was how I felt, I would not have been alluding throughout this interview to our welcoming nature for Chinese investments and investors. I would not have made the statements that I just made, that we see China, the Chinese investment and investors, as an integral part of the development and advancement of our country. The President said, and I go on. He said, what we want to is exactly, I'm sure, what China wants, is for those investments to bring the greatest benefit to the people of our country and also to support the advancement and development of China. Exactly what I was saying, that the man was saying, the Chinese man, investor in Brazil was saying. We want business. You make money, we make money. What is the problem in that? Remember, China doesn't have any imperial political philosophy. No imperial political philosophy whatsoever. They just want business. You make money, we make money, the Chinese say. In fact, President Ali explained that the bilateral relations between the two countries will only strengthen in the future. Weighing in on the energy cooperation between the two states going forward, the Guyanese leader urged that there is no immediate end to fossil fuel, but the path to renewables must still be pursued. To this end, he said that China can play in Guyana energy sector a major part. We see China as an important part in the energy equation of our country. His Excellency says. Ali noted that he urged the country to participate in the public bidding process, especially for energy-related projects. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're fortunate to go to China, or you could check through Google or any such sites, you'll understand the power that China has. You drive on a highway, then you drive on a highway over the ocean, then you suddenly go underground. For many, 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 many miles, I haven't been on it, but I'm going to go on it. And then you come out in Hong Kong, maybe hundreds or thousands of miles, driving underwater. Then they have built something called the Three Gorges investment project, hydro project, where teeming tens upon tens of thousands of people were moved and put into proper housing, and the project is so massive to empower China. My words just cannot explain. So I will ask my operator on here to show you that highway that leads on the water, on the ocean, and takes you all the way to Hong Kong. And some spots of the Three Gorges, which took a week on a cruise for us to pass through. So vast it was. The massive, magnificent project. Only I see that the Chinese in modern day can do. He reasoned that China has technology, human resource strength, and the capital resources that can fast-track investment in the green energy sector to make hydro, solar, and wind projects a reality. But he also said fossil fuel is not ending soon. That's a fact of life. The president said, what is a great problem of the developing world is the capital cost for use of these alternative energy solutions. And what China has to do is to work at a global scale on supporting these alternative energy initiatives. If you want to put some solar power in my building, the millions upon millions it will cost, ladies and gentlemen, is extremely prohibitive. But in the long run, you will earn it back. But it is so expensive to power a building by solar alone. A Chinese contractor, China Railway First Group, had won a bid to build, own, operate and transfer arrangement to construct the Amelia Falls Hydro Project that would have generated 16.5 megawatts of electricity for the country. This government would have allowed the developer to operate the project for a 20-year period before handing it over to the government at no cost. During that time, Guyana would have purchased the power produced from the facility at a specified cost to pay back for the investment. Transparency activists had, however, pointed out that the project had the potential to lose its viability after this period. In addition, the terms of arrangement would have allowed for Guyana to bear the most. Transparency activists had, however, pointed out that the project had the potential to lose its viability after this period. In addition, the terms of the arrangement allowed for Guyana to bear the most burdensome risks involved with the project. These include those related to political force majeure, like when you have political sabotage and conspiracies and so on. So the transparency activists are talking about that as well. And then by the time it's handed over to us, it will get old as if it can be maintained. Payment risks in the event that electricity sold is not sufficient to meet the purchase power agreement demands. And hydrology, where Guyana stands, the risk associated with the likelihood of there being insufficient water supply, meaning if the Amelia Falls runs dry, among other risks. But you know, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you're having something like this, you build a lake. I saw it in Georgia, United States, and many other countries. There's always a massive lake, which also is used for other major industry, including fresh water industry of fish and shrimp and supplies. The project was again shelved mid last year after the contractor reportedly developed financial issues. On December 30, 2022, the government of Guyana entered into a new contract with the China Export-Import Exim Bank for the US $172 million loan to help build the new Demerara River crossing. In a statement to the press, the Ministry of Finance announced that the government completed the electronic signing of the loan to the tune of 160.8 million euros. However, Guyana has been borrowing majority of its bilateral loans from the People's Republic of China. Last year, it was reported that the bulk of the country's loans were owed to the China Exim Bank. The governor of the Bank of Guyana, Dr. Gobi Ganga, in an interview with this publication, said that the China Exim Bank accounts for 39.5% of the country's total debt. Additionally, debt repayment to the Exim Bank had accounted for 82%. So friends and family, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to skip a few lines here because of the element of time. Another project that was completed and funded by the loans from China is the Chedi Jagan International Airport, Timeri. And what a beautiful thing it is. Yes, we'll have some problems like any construction anywhere, but it is beautiful and very satisfying. The airport expansion contract was signed in 2011 by then President Barajagde when it was passed through the truncated presidency of Donald Ramota. However, when the David Granger administration took power in 2015, it said that the very defective plan needed adjustments and changes were made, for which it is now regretted, ladies and gentlemen. So, we have to be grateful to China for being our friend, and to His Excellency, our President, for a beautiful, wonderful interview extolling the relationship between China and Guyana. Let's remember, the Chinese have to look after their interest in negotiations and discussions, and the Guyanese people, or the countries which are taking the loans, need to also look after its own interest. So on this, Guyana is not threatened by the Chinese investments and loans. Your brother me, Hajji, Dr. Roshan, in the raw. Say thank you. A farewell, friends.